So welcome everyone. We are here today on Smart Water Wednesdays to talk some water nerd topics with you about what WeatherTRAK is doing for our friends in the Salt Lake City parks. And we are kind of going for a new format here a little bit. I have with me my very special co-host, Brady Pitcher, who is also the salesman in charge of this account. So this subject came up between Brady and I, and we wanted to have everybody involved in the conversation. So welcome, Brady. Say hi to everyone.
Thank you very much, Ben. As always, you know that I love being with you.
Yes, and we love having you. And I also have Shari and James with us from the Salt Lake City Parks.
Hello.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
And we are going to spend some time looking over what we're going to do today is a very specific look at what James and Shari found when they tested WeatherTRAK against a leading competitor. They manage their parks through what I call an aging central control system that we're going to talk about what they found when they upgraded to WeatherTRAK, and just across the board, not just one thing or another, but the full spectrum of their management experience and some of the benefits that they harvested from that. So, Brady, you want to start with this? Okay.
Sure. I've had the privilege of working with Salt Lake City Parks now for basically about, I think it's going on 11 or 12 years. Good people. I love Salt Lake City. I enjoy my relationship that I have with both Shari and James. We have a fun time together and laugh a lot. And I appreciate the fact that despite some nerves that they are joining us today. So thank you both, James and Shari, for doing this very much. A little bit about Salt Lake City Parks.
I mean, no offense when I call you water nerds. That's all in love. That's
oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good term with us, guys. You gotta think of that. So a few things about Salt Lake City Parks: 735 acres of maintained parklands, and that is, from what we know, James and Shari, you correct me here, but that is just manicured parks, right? That does not include any of your like native open space or anything like that, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right. I think we lost our screen now, Ben.
I am working with Natalie behind the scenes. Sorry.
I'll keep going then.
You keep going. I'll be back in just 2 seconds.
I have your presentation up on my other screen. So
no worries. I just am not in presentation mode somehow.
Oh, now you are. Now that looks good. Just like that.
Okay.
We're good. We're good. So that 735 acres does not include any of the native open space, trails. That is manicured park space. The largest park that they have is Liberty Park, that picture that you're seeing right there, which is close to 100 acres. That was dedicated in 1882. So it's an old park. It's a very, very used park. Shari and James, how much is that park used?
Often, yeah. It's probably one of our busiest parks.
Yeah. And that park has a pond. How many irrigation controllers just on that park alone?
I think 13.
Yeah, there's a lot. So together they manage 200 plus controllers across the whole city, and they are the water managers for Salt Lake City. And I don't want to toot anyone's horn, but they both got some awards for being employees of the year. You know, not that we're going to show any certificates right now, but so that's a quick summary of Salt Lake City Parks. And thank you both for being here. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on. Here we go. Next slide. Oh, maybe. There we go.
There we go. So we want to highlight 3 different parks and talk about something a little bit different for each of these parks. We want to first start maybe with a little bit of a story behind Salt Lake City Parks. As Ben mentioned, they were using a leading competitor product. And in most cases was an ET based. It was a weather based system that they were trying to utilize. and it wasn't necessarily fulfilling all of their needs as was getting aged, and they felt like they needed to try something. So we actually started on that second park right there that's listed, Westpointe Park. We started with a demo on that park. We'll first hit Laird and talk a little bit about that, talk about Westpointe, and then talk about Fairmont Park, those 3 parks there, and highlight individual characteristics of each. So,
and one of the things I was trying to highlight on this slide, this is a picture of Laird Park that in our conversations before the show, we wanted to highlight the usage of all of these parks, right? How all of these parks are crown jewels of the park system, are high visibility. This is movie night at Laird Park. And I just want to add that into the conversation, right? That's nice. One of the big management challenges that come along with managing these parks. All right, you ready for Laird?
Let's do Laird. Let's talk about it. So Laird was one that was installed. The controller, WeatherTRAK controller, was installed in 2019. And what we kind of wanted to just focus on here for this one is first of all, is to talk a little bit about the budget monitor. Ben, if you want to briefly.
Yeah, you want me to hand this off to you? Are you ready to drive this?
Sure.
I just wanted to make that a slide, but we talked about you taking it over.
Oh no, you can keep that there, Ben. It's okay.
Okay.
You can keep it there. It's good.
All right.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
What we wanted to highlight with Laird was the fact that, which, by the way, Ben, we can't see the screen.
Oh no. I'm telling you, this is harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we've done this before. We promise.
Sorry. Oh, by the way, can't see ya. Oh, there we go. Okay, I know what I'm doing. My bad. Share screen. There we go.
There we go.
Then back into presentation mode. I am learning all the new equipment. I apologize for the technical difficulties today.
Yeah, just so you know, Ben just redid his whole getup. Oh, now you're seeing the wrong screen.
Now I'm seeing the wrong screen. Okay, wait.
You can just switch it there.
Says you. How do I switch it? No. Brady, you keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. So one thing we wanted to highlight with Laird Park specifically is one of the major factors and one of the key points that Salt Lake City Parks was looking at with central control and our new system, this new system with WeatherTRAK, was, can we save water versus what we were doing before? In a lot of parks, they were very, very aggressive with trying to push the boundaries of water conservation. Can you go back one slide, Ben? That's
yes,
Westpointe.
I hope so.
There you go. So they were trying to push the boundaries of water conservation with some of these parks. So one of the questions that I was asked is, Brady, can we actually save water? Not only can we save water, but can we also maintain plant health and quality and the visual side of our park system? Because as you mentioned, Ben, it's very visible. Laird Park specifically is in a neighborhood the park gets a lot of use, and if it's not looking up to snuff, comments are made. So this is a summary of that blue line you're seeing right there is 2018 water bills versus 2019 water bills, showing an overall savings in pre-WeatherTRAK versus with WeatherTRAK as 37% in the first year. And that was, tell me, Shari, if this was your park, right?
Correct.
Was that using ET-based watering before?
No, I don't think so. I think it was time-based.
It was time-based. Okay. Did you have any concerns going into installing WeatherTRAK at this park?
I just wanted to make sure that the aesthetic stayed good. I know we were testing it mainly for a water budget and just see the ease of it. But yeah, there was a baseball area. There's a little baseball corner that was constantly hard to keep green.
Uh-huh.
It dried out really easy. And so, yeah, I did want to test that and do a smaller area and made sure I had, Netafim, a hydrometer there too to test the blowout and everything. And so I just wanted, it was just a good test plot.
Good. And what did you see? We obviously saw savings there. So, I mean, 37% is a substantial amount. What did you notice as far as green levels, plant health, as we switched over to WeatherTRAK?
Everything was awesome. It turned out great. There wasn't swamps anywhere. There were some areas where it would swamp and puddle, and it just across the board, it turned out really nice.
Oh, good. And what about those areas in the baseball field? Did they
greened up?
They greened up?
Yep.
Good. So overall, you saw not only a reduction in water, but you also saw the fact that it actually greened up and was more healthy.
Yep.
So with less water, we're keeping the plants healthier and the neighbors, the high maintenance neighbors, happier.
Yes.
You said high maintenance. We didn't, Ben. Okay. I want that noted right now.
I was just trying to, yes, I don't, no offense. It is their park. They can have it however they want.
Yes. And they love it a lot.
Yeah, they do. They love their park. So they want to see it green and they use it a lot. So that's kind of the story behind Laird Park. Is there anything else you guys want to mention as far as Laird Park goes?
I don't see it as much as Shari does, so I can't really speak on Laird Park too much. I can tell you all about Westpointe Park, anything you want to know.
Well,
we're coming at you.
That's a good segue. I'll do a little bit of prep work here, and James, you feel free to fill in as far as this one goes. This was actually the first park that we tested WeatherTRAK at. And what I want to note, this Westpointe Park, if you notice in the upper part, the northern part of that park, this is in July of 2018. So this was I think the year that we installed WeatherTRAK in the northern portion of the park.
I think so, yeah.
And one of the things we wanted to test here is we wanted to push the boundaries of how much we could save with this. So if I remember right, James, I think we installed that and programmed it according to ET, and then we reduced it down to a minus 40% adjust per station. So it's still factoring all the ET stuff in, but then it took it down 40% even lower than that. So even given that, if you look at the northern portion of that park right there, it's not lush green, but tell me a little bit, James, because you watched this park. What did that park look like before the northern part specifically? What did it look like before WeatherTRAK?
The northern part, I wouldn't say like always struggles, but it gets high usage. It's 2 soccer fields. It sees the sun all day. Mm-hmm. So it didn't look as good as it does now. Prior to it, there was some complications there, but then after the fact, it looks really good constantly. It always looks really good, and I rarely have any problems there. Since we put it in, I don't think like I said, I've made some minor adjustments, but it constantly looks good, and I don't have to be there as much.
Okay. So you're using the ET-based scheduling and finding. Tell me about managing it compared to your previous experience. Is it more time? Is it less time? Is it more steps? Is it less steps?
Definitely less time. Definitely less steps. 100%. I'm not a numbers person. Shari, she pays attention to price and stuff like that. I don't. But I'm more about conserving time. And when you have a plate, like that was one of the things that I noticed when we first switched over Westpointe North, was that Brady would constantly ask us, how's it going? What's going on? Like, how are you guys doing? What are you guys learning with it? And I'd always say that I think the downfall, it's like a good thing and a bad thing. It's great because I never have to look at it and I never really have to touch it. But it's a downfall because I don't look at it and I don't touch it. So I'm not messing with it as much because I don't have to get in there and look for stuff or look for issues. The issues will come to me in form of an email or a text message. So therefore, if there's no email coming forward, then I know that there's not an issue.
Yep. That's awesome. And what I want to kind of highlight there too, is if you look at the northern portion versus the southern portion at this point in 2018 was still on the previous system, whereas the northern portion was not. So I think
you can kind of see the breaking point, right? The breaking point happens kind of right in here.
Yep, it does.
And you can kind of see the difference just even from this satellite photo in the plant health between the soccer fields up here and the baseball and other recreation areas on the other system.
So I think the next slide, Ben, actually shows a panoramic picture. Oh, it does, yeah. So this was me standing basically kind of at the break point on the west side of that park, on the left-hand side of the previous picture. There's the soccer goal that you can see right there, kind of in the middle of it. And the left side of that is the northern portion. You can see what the health looks like. That was taken, I think this was taken in 20, was this recently taken, James?
I think that was the one, the one that you took when we were doing Westpointe South, when we made the conversion for Westpointe South. That's
right. Which was really the end of last year, the beginning of this year, I think is when it was, right?
Oh, I would say mid last year. Yeah.
Okay. So you can see in the it's kind of hard to see in that panoramic there, but there is a drastic difference between north and south as far as
you can start to see, like over here, you can see how green everything is. And as we get down to the south part, which is over here, it starts to yellow out and you can see off in the distance the difference in plant health between what's going on back here and what's going on the soccer field. Yeah. So we thought that was a pretty compelling perspective.
Yep. Well, and the next couple slides,
another compelling perspective.
Yep. So this is what it looked like in 2018. This next is what it looks like. This was mid-year this year. Is what this was. So kind of a side-by-side comparison of what that looks like.
After.
And that is still in the middle of restrictions that we did talk about. Pushing the boundaries of conservation right there. And that's kind of the message that I've had conversations with Shari and James about with this system, is that you base it on ET watering, let it do its thing, kind of guide it with adjustments as you go along. And it just works, to be honest. That's what I've liked about it. And this was a perfect example of that happening.
Yeah. James, anything else on Westpointe?
Westpointe South. So the picture we're looking at now, kind of the bottom of that boot is all of Westpointe South.
Okay.
Every year since I've been in this position for 5 years, and every year it's always been a struggle to keep that green. And we push it beyond its limits, beyond the 12-hour water window, just barely, just to try to get a little bit more water down. And it's always been a struggle to keep it green. But now, since we've gone over to WeatherTRAK, it's a lot easier when we just when we input the ET data and just let it go, it does its thing. And I haven't, since it's been in, I haven't really had any complaints about keeping it green. In fact, I think I've had one complaint about it being too green, and we had to back it off a little bit. So it's been really good and effective for this park, for Westpointe South, to look as green as it does. It's never looked that green.
James, you're awesome at our transitions. Did you know the direction we were going to go? Because that takes us right into our next conversation.
Let's
like talk a little bit about Fairmont Park. Brady, you have a story about Fairmont Park that you wanted to share.
I do, and Shari, feel free to fill in any information here. So this is also a park that was on the previous system. One that this is one in this picture here that you're seeing is in 2019. You can see that we did have some issues in the field that are beyond kind of controller related issues. We had some coverage issues. Specifically on the left side of that picture you're looking at is a soccer field right there. It's a sand-based field. Shari, tell me a little bit about how you've struggled to keep that green right there and why it's been an issue.
So the whole park has 3 points of connections, and the pressure, even with 3 points of connections, it's just hard to keep up with. And you couldn't water that whole park in one night with the water window and everything.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lot of, even with cycle and soaking, and it was just hard to keep up. And that's a high use field too.
Oh, that field is a high use field. I mean, yeah. I'm even seeing that even the areas in kind of the northern portion where that pavilion is, we're struggling in 2019 as well.
Yeah, so the whole park, plus you couldn't water the whole park in one night.
Yeah.
which WeatherTRAK has helped out a lot, but it took 2 to 3 nights to water that efficiently, and that's efficiently.
Yeah. And we installed WeatherTRAK. Remind me too. We installed WeatherTRAK. Was it last year that we installed it? I think it was 2020. It was installed
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's compare, if you don't mind, Ben. Do you have the next picture that kind of compares what it looks like now?
No.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Did you send me two?
I did.
I have it. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
I will pull that up.
Meanwhile, what we can talk about, what I kind of wanted to emphasize here is Shari emphasized the challenge that she had with multiple points of connection. This has kind of a funky main line that has different chutes and sub-main lines that size down. I think part of the reason, that's it right there, Ben. That's it. Perfect. I think part of the reason why it was struggling so much is the system before was having a difficult time with the different main lines and sub-main lines and really watering effectively, just because I think it was pulling too many zones off of smaller sized pipes, sub-mains. So the pressure dropped, the flow was not sufficient. Whereas once we set up OptiFlow, it actually normalized all that and helped with that situation to the point where you see what you're looking at now in that picture that Ben has right there. Bring that up if you can.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, like, as the sprinkler nerd in me wants to highlight that exactly what Brady is describing is what I can see in this picture. You can see that the operation of this system is taxing the pressure, and it's affecting the distribution uniformity. You can see where these heads are supposed to be reaching and not, especially on the perimeters. You can see where cycle and soak would have a killer effect. And so over time, we start to see this, especially with OptiFlow, where we are balancing out that main line and we're not overtaxing any one section of the system during irrigation. So it has enough pressure to do what it needs to do. And you can just tell from the sky how much of an effect it's having.
Yeah. So let's actually ask Shari and James, both of you have actually watched this park for numerous years. Tell us a little bit about pre-WeatherTRAK versus when WeatherTRAK was installed. What did it look like? How did it improve?
I mean, the picture there kind of speaks for itself, but I mean, it's come a long way, in my opinion. I mean, I used to take care of this park as a senior groundskeeper 10 plus years ago. And that west field over there that had all the circles in it used to be watered by hand. We used to go out with spigots and put in water keys. But I mean, like I said, the picture kind of speaks for itself. It's come a long way in just a year. Last year and into this year, it's looked way better. And this is another park that we're told, Shari was told that it's too green. Let's back it off a little bit. So I don't know. You have anything to say about that, but that's my opinion.
That's never happened ever.
Back up the bus. You were told it's too green?
Too green. Yeah, too green.
That is not something I hear from my parks people too much.
Yes.
They're complaining that your park looks too good.
Yeah. Well, and especially because this year with the drought and with us trying to, be better with managing the water and stuff like that, it wasn't that we were trying to overwater, that Shari was trying to overwater. It's just that it was doing a good job running itself on ET. That when people would show up or our supervisors would show up, they'd say, hey, this looks great, but for this year it's a little bit too green. We need to back it off.
We need to lead by example, have that conservation yellow color.
Yeah.
Well, and to that point, I was actually having a conversation with the Parks Division Director, and he said exactly the same thing to me, that he was touring Fairmont Park, just getting an idea of what WeatherTRAK was doing. And that's exactly what he said. He said, Brady, I've never seen it look that good. I've been here at the parks for numerous years, decades, and said, I've never seen it look that good. And we need to dial it back a little bit in order to have it come in line with making sure that everyone knows that we are conserving water, which the ironic thing is we are conserving water. Getting back to the point we had earlier, we are conserving water there. It's just applying it in a more efficient way and utilizing the hydraulic tree within OptiFlow it's much more effective way of doing it is what it comes down to. So it's
And
been
then
awesome.
with James' model before, you can just continue to drive that down, right? Like you did on the Westpointe Park, you can just percentage adjust down until it starts to show that you're restricting it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, that is so. I guess in summary, what I am hearing you say is when we ask the question, what does WeatherTRAK save Salt Lake City parks? Our first example, this guy right here, I just happen to have it up, boom, on the budget manager at Laird Park. We have good examples of financial savings, right? Water savings, that restriction that we're all facing. But the rest of the stories that we tell really go into time savings and energy savings and headache savings, as well as plant health and all of the appearance of the park. That I think that those are all great messages about what good smart water management can do in the hands of a very savvy maintenance team like yourselves. So thank you for all your hard work on this.
In fact, I think there was one other thing that James, we need to ask him the question, Ben.
I think there was one more item. I was
okay.
doing, yeah.
Okay.
We're not there yet. We're there now, though.
Okay.
You ask him the question. You're co-host.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up, Ben always asks a question for first-time guests. And I know we've kind of already answered this question, but I know that there's one item that we've discussed that you wanted to highlight to answer this question. And the question is, what does WeatherTRAK save you? And James, I know you had an answer for this. So what's your answer to that question?
Shari, hit it, Shari. Just kidding. No, like I said before, I'm not a numbers person. We could always talk budget and stuff like that, but it saves a lot of time. Like I said before, we don't have to go looking for the issues. The issues come to us. But not only that, out in the field, there are minimal amounts of components that it takes for this thing to communicate to us, and just to communicate, period. We don't have to run a CTEC modem. We don't have to run a CCU. We don't have to run a weather station. So when an issue comes up, if an issue does come up out in the field, we're not trying to diagnose 5 different things to figure out what the issue is. And that saves us downtime also. Saves us downtime from us not being able to water a park because there's an issue out in the field and we're trying to figure it out. I've sometimes have gone days, even weeks of a park being down because I can't figure out what the issue is. And in this case, that's not the case. Usually we'll figure it out in a day. And HydroPoint's customer service has usually been pretty good about helping us out in the field if we have issues that come up. So time, I definitely would say, I think that in my opinion, flies under the radar a lot. How much time that WeatherTRAK can save us, and I guess too in that regard, money. If I'm gonna say that, because we don't have a bunch of components that we need to replace. So
well, and when you're talking about those component heavy solutions, right? There's a lot of different parts that need to be managed on some of those, like the one you're talking about, and the simplified cloud-based architecture of the WeatherTRAK system really puts all of the feature function in the cloud and in the software rather than in the hardware, which I hear you saying is 5 less things to troubleshoot when you're out trying to figure out what's going out on the site. So I think that that's a really amazing perspective.
Right, and the other thing too is for the citizens of Salt Lake, when they see our park start to brown or we're not watering something for an extended period of time, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So when we have something down like that, it's hard to explain to somebody what's going on. So like I said before, if we don't have a lot of downtime because there's an issue, we can keep watering and keep things going. It's better for us and it's better for the public view.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for making time. I'm going to take a second and always with the plugs, plug customer service and how we're here to help, right? We've got a great on-demand support team at the 800 number. We've got on-demand training services on our training center at hydropoint.learnupon.com. So anything we can do to help, we are happy to. I'm excited to talk about what we have coming next. I know that we have missed the last couple of weeks. I spent those weeks trying to figure out what Smart Water Wednesdays looks like for the rest of the year. So I have now booked all of the episodes through the rest of 2021. Next week, we are going to go a little bit in depth on the new WeatherTRAK 200 station 2-wire. So I've got a great guest, Noe Cruz from Site One. We're going to talk about kind of just the ins and outs of what makes the 200 station 2-wire different than the other H2O offerings, and just some details that the water nerds need to know about. So I'm excited about that. But what I'm really, really excited about, and I will stop sharing so I can see Brady's face as I talk about this.
Yeah, because we're both excited about this.
We're both excited. We have a new idea about something fresh we're going to do with Smart Water Wednesdays. So for the last 5 episodes of the year, starting in mid-November, we're going to turn Smart Water Wednesdays into a game show that I'm calling the Dropped Tournament of Champions. So we're going to have a weekly game show that is WeatherTRAK trivia, and we're going to feature some of the great guests of past episodes. So we're going to have an episode with distributors, an episode with contractors, even an episode with HydroPoint personnel. So more details to come, but what I think is going to be the most fun part about this is Brady's going to be my co-host. Brady's going to be on every week. So coming at you live, the Ben and Brady show for the last 5 episodes of the year, and more details to come on that.
We're both excited about it.
We're both excited. So we got some great stuff on the horizon. Thanks for joining us this week, and hope to see you guys in the audience for weeks to come. Next, I want to go back to you, Brady, and thank you for being co-host. You were awesome as usual. And if you want to give a shout out to our special guests and close us out, that would be great.
I will, because I owe them big after doing this. So James and Shari, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I echo Brady. Thanks for making time. I know that being on camera wasn't a totally popular choice with you guys, but thank you so much for breaking out of your comfort zone and joining us. I really loved hearing your stories. So it was great. So thanks again, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.